Hello and thank you for watching the sixth lesson of chapter 13, which is 13.6. It's our lab, Observe DNS and DHCP. Now chapter 13 theory is done, completed. Well, it wasn't all theory. We did a lot of practical work. We looked at the Wireshark, the TCP, HTTP, DNS, DHCP, and as well as FTP packets on the Wireshark. So you should be a lot more comfortable on how to use Wireshark as a program. For that reason, everything I'll do in this lesson, in this lab, I'm going to use a packet tracer. So everything will be from scratch, so you'll get to see all these packets on the packet tracer as well, right? So what we're going to do in this lesson or in this lab, we're going to see, well, we're going to access a website from the PCA. That website will be hosted on server B, and we'll observe the communication. We'll see the DNS packets, we see the TCP packets, as well as HTTP packets. So this is a lab topology that we will be building from scratch. So we will get a router, and we'll say router 1, and then that router will be the DHCP server as well. And we'll bring a PC that will be a DHCP client, and it will get an IP address from the router. And we'll bring a couple of servers. Server A, that will be the DNS server with this IP address. And then server B, that will be our web server with this IP address. And the idea is that we get access, we open a web browser from PCA, and we try to access a website called cisco.local, which will be hosted on the server B. Now the PC is going to send a DNS query to server A for that website, and the server A as a DNS, it will send a DNS query, it will response to that query. And then once we get response, you'll see the PC will start the TCP three-way handshake. So we'll get the three-way handshake going. So the first message is going to be the synchronization message from this PC towards the server. Then the server, a web server, will send us acknowledgement. So we'll acknowledge that synchronization as well as their own synchronization message. And then the third handshake will be ACK from this client, which will say, okay, I'll acknowledge your synchronization. And then we just, after that, the client will start sending the HTTP packets, right? That's the idea. Okay, so I've already have a packet tracer, so I'm just gonna bring it in here. Here we go. That's our packet tracer. So I'll grab a router, 1941 router. I'll need a switch, so I'll put 2960 switch. And I'll put an end device, which is going to be my PC, and a couple of servers. Now I'm going to change the name here for visual help or effect here, so there's not difference. So PCA, and if you just click on the name, you can change the name here. But that doesn't change anything. It's just going to help us to know what the devices we have in our network. Okay. And then I'm going to connect them, yeah? So everything is straight through connection because all are dissimilar devices. So switch G01 to router G01. And then I'll connect to the PC. It doesn't really matter what port on the switch. It will matter when we talk about VLANs and spanning tree later on, but for the moment, it doesn't really matter. I'm just connecting them to any port I have. Okay, so this is going to be the server A, it's going to be my DNS server, and the IP address is going to be 192.168.1.20, and this is going to be here the server B, it's going to be the web server, so web server, and the IP address is going to be for the website, let's put the website cisco.local, local, and the IP address 192.168.1.30, 30. And the router is not really in this, that's not going to be that much. It's just going to be our DHCP. Okay, that's it. And this is the PCA, is going to be the DHCP client. Yeah, so I'm not going to write that down. So on the router, I'm going to copy, I've got already some nodes, well, commands that I'm going to copy to the router. And these are just normal default commands that we've gone through so many times. And I've got the configuration for the interface G01, and I've got the DHCP configuration. Now DHCP, we're going to cover it in the next semester, so we just don't worry about these commands at the moment. But what I'm just saying that I've excluded some addresses from 1 to 150. I have excluded. So the PC should actually get 151 as an IP address. It doesn't matter. Let's exclude something else. Yeah, 125. Let's say 125. Now all the IP addresses from 1 to 125 are excluded, so the PC should get actually 126. So I'm going to copy all this configuration to my router, right? So copy, go to the router, and just paste it there, right? Look, have a look if there is any errors, which there is not. Okay, so the router is done. The next, let me just minimize this as well. We don't need it. So I'll go to the PC, and then on the PC, I'm going to configure the, for example, the IP address to get it dynamically. But I'm just waiting for this to go green because of the spanning tree, so it's about 50 seconds. So might as well just do server A. So I'll go to server A, go to desktop, IP configuration. This is going to be a static configuration, so 192.168.1.20. Default subnet mask. The gateway is going to be the router 1, and DNS server is going to be itself, so 127.0.0.1, right? Now server B. If I go to desktop here of the server B, the IP address statically 192.168.1.30. Default subnet mask, gateway 192.168.1.1, and then the DNS server is going to be 192.168.1.20, which is the server A. Okay, this is done. Now if I go to PCA, you see the router has given the DNS as well, yeah? So DNS 192.168.1.20, so it says that one. So if I go to PCA, go to IP configuration, DHCP. Now you see we got 126, the address. So let me just mark these. 192.168.1.126 has got the address here. The gateway is R1, but the DNS server is .1.20, is this one here, right? So we are almost done, ready. So what are we gonna do? I'm gonna go to simulation. I don't want to see all these packets. Well, I want to see show none, and I want to see only DNS packets, and I want to see HTTP packets and TCP packets. Those are the three packets that I want to see: DNS, HTTP, and TCP. What's going to happen? DNS request, DNS response, then three-way handshake, first, two, three, that's all the TCPs, and then the last packet is going to be HTTP. Well, the next packets. Okay, that's the idea, right? So minimize this, zoom in a little bit so we can see it better, and that's it. We go to the PCA, close this. Oh, before I do that, let's configure the DNS server. Now the web server we don't have to configure because if you go to services, HTTP is enabled by default, so we don't have to worry there at all. But the DNS is not, so I need to go to this server A and access the DNS and enable that before first, and then say, okay, if anybody wants to go to cisco.local, point them a record, right, to this address 192.168.1.30, which is server B address. I'll add that information. Okay, we are ready. So I go to PCA, open the web browser, which is right at the end, yeah, last top whatever the last tab, web browser, and in there I'm gonna type cisco.local. So cisco.local and press enter. Now I'm gonna just see here the first packet is gonna be the DNS packet. As you can see, type DNS. If you click on that packet, for example, to inspect it, look at outbound PDU, and this is, you have an IP header, then you have a UDP header, which is port 53 here, and then we have a name which we're trying to resolve is cisco.local. And this DNS packet should go to our DNS server. So if I move it forward, it's going to go towards the DNS server. There we go. And the DNS server is going to, if we inspect it on DNS server, we see the inbound PDU. Sorry. Okay. Inbound PDU, I don't know what was happening there. So inbound PDU is Cisco.local, and outbound is like what I'm going to send to them. What I'm going to send to them is the IP address 192.168.1.30. That's the outbound, that's outgoing. So if I click forward, that's going to go towards the PC. And now the PC is going to create a TCP three-way handshake. So this packet is TCP. So as you can see, the TCP is the first handshake. So if I click to inspect it, so outbound, I've looked on IP, TCP, you can see the destination port 80, source port, sequence number, acknowledgement number, Windows, but I want you to pay attention to this bit here. Not the last one, the 0, the 1, this one here. That bit says synchronization bit. That's my synchronization. It's being set, yeah? So synchronization is set, and let me close this. And that's going to go towards the server now. And when it gets to the server, we can inspect it there. So the server says, okay, in inbound, I have synchronization. Someone wants to talk to me. Outbound, I will acknowledge that. That's the acknowledgement. The next one there, that's the acknowledgement. If I can just point it. So small. And then they have their own synchronization. That's the second handshake coming from the server, yeah? So that's going to go back to the PC. And once the PC gets that, it's going to create, this is HTTP packet, but as well as it's going to send one TCP packet. So if I forward it, that packet is a TCP. If I look at that packet, once it gets to the server, you see that packet, when I go inbound, I go to the end, that's acknowledgement. That's a three-way handshake is done. And the next packet is going to be your normal HTTP packet. So if you look at the HTTP packet, in the inbound, we'll say, okay, well, I need information about Cisco.local, and outbound, well, we're gonna send that information, all the HTML web page, right? So once I get there to the PC, then we look at the PC, we should see, and that's acknowledgement coming, and then there we go, we see the web page. Okay, so what happened? If I go back very quickly, that's where we started. That's your DNS lookup or like query towards the server. The server sends a response towards the PC, gives the IP address of the web server. Then we start a three-way handshake. That's your first TCP handshake, synchronization. Then the acknowledgement and synchronization comes from the server. Then the third handshake is, well, acknowledgement from the PC. That's why it's green. And as well as we send the HTTP GET message. Once we send the GET message, the server replies with the contents of the website, and then we looked at the PC, we have the packet tracer. Before that, we don't have the website. Okay, that's it. So we saw the three packets. We saw the DNS, we saw the TCP packet, and we saw the HTTP packet. Thank you for watching lesson 13.6, Lab Observing DNS and DHCP. This is of chapter 13, Application Layer. Please have a look at my other videos and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay up to date. This has been Askri Krasnichi. Bye bye.